and so my interests fall along the lines of marketing, design, and and communications. So I always just try to equip myself with skills to build brands and products that people would love, find valuable, and resonate with. So okay, I'm already talking about myself, so you can just go to that screen that shows my face so that you can see my face. All right, so yeah, that is Ayomide Ajayi, and like I said, I'm always exploring the science and art of communicating how brands can be valuable to people. And I'm actually very elated to be here to share with you this evening. This is something I've been running away from for a while, not deliberately, but because of one or two reasons. Let's just say Demola was talking about me yesterday when he was talking about being scared and all of those kind of things. So, but I think I'm beginning to understand the beauty of being able to share the little I know and being able to get people to, question those things and critique it and all of those things. So, and I really appreciate FourthCanvas, the team at FourthCanvas, for giving me the opportunity to be able to share with you guys via their platform. Thank you very much, and I hope that everybody here tonight finds the class very interesting and worth your time, and I hope you find it valuable. So yeah, can you please take it away from my shining teeth, because everybody's talking about my teeth now. So yeah, let's jump right into it. So disclaimer. So first of all, I want you to know that personally, I believe that maybe the best way to get the most effective kind of creative communication is not always through a creative brief, right? I think I prefer what is known as a sprint, is brand sprint, is design sprint, and I know that that's what is done at FourthCanvas in-house. We usually had sprints sessions where we sit down and we talk about, we brainstorm through the problem, through our process, through sketching out ideas, to iterating and all of those things, right? And that exactly is, I feel like that is a much more effective approach to creating, to coming up with creative communications for brands and businesses. But in the light of the situation that we are, I'm talking about the coronavirus pandemic, companies around the world, and we can't have a physical meetup to have a sprint or a brainstorm session. So the most effective ways to actually have to have our creative communication. Like I was saying, brands, businesses now, you just need to you need to have the right tools and resources to have your creative communications effectively done. And one of the most essential tools that you would need to make sure that you're actually communicating well with your creative team, if you're a creative, if you're a brand or a business that has a creative team in-house, or you have an agency that you work with, you need to master, or you need to understand exactly how to have your creative brief, how to actually communicate what exactly you want and get the best out of your communication. Yes, it's a pandemic, and all of the other things that has come up with the situation. But this is not where you end talking about your brand. You still need to communicate your brand. People still need to know that you are somewhere, and not just know that you're somewhere. People will still have needs after the pandemic. It's not going to last forever. So I was even seeing someone's tweet who I haven't replied to, talking about the situation and saying how FMCGs will need to do a couple of these things and that thing. But I think one thing that we all need to have at the back of our minds is, first, that this thing is not going to last forever. So we are all new to this situation, and we have to also come up with novel ways to tackle the problems and still achieve the things that we want to achieve, right? So the creative brief then comes as a focus that helps you just get through to the problem fast. Get through to the problem fast and solve it, and without having the usual without having any hiccups or any problem come through. So yeah, so let's go to the next slide. Yeah, so a brief in brief. So a creative brief is a document used by creative professionals to develop creative deliverables, visual design, creative deliverables, which are visual design, copy, advertising, websites, voiceovers, and the likes, right? That's like, I mean, it's good to have a background knowledge. So, but when we say a document, what we just mean is a body of information, right? And in this case, we're talking about a body of information that usually is developed by the client. It's supposed to be developed by the client, because most clients, some clients probably don't have a creative brief. Other clients do, right? But I would say in the ideal situation for advertising agencies, creative briefs are written by the client. Like they're actually written after the client comes up with the client's brief. So there's a client's brief, and then once the agency receives the client brief, the account manager or the account manager is usually the one, account manager or brand manager, they usually the ones to sort out the data in the client brief and then come up with a creative brief. Oftentimes come up with it alongside the creative director. Now, it's a body of information that just contains a series of simple questions that are answered by the creative team. I mean, that are asked by the creative team and they are answered by the client or the requester. You know, this then becomes a template for the execution of the creative work at hand. So I believe we all sort of have an understanding of what the creative is. In fact, I was going to do this before the class. I'm hoping it's still valid enough. I would like to know the number of designers, creative, content creators. I mean, can you please drop comments and let me know what you do? Are you a designer? Are you a content creator? Are you a copywriter? Are you a videographer, photographer? What you are? I would just like to just observe. Okay, designer, human being, Bele, copywriter, art director, awesome, designer. Art director is a designer, anyways, in my opinion. Retired designer. Graphic designer. Oh my god. Account manager, Tosin. Hi, Tosin. Brand design by night. Awesome. You're making money. Voiceover artist. Oh, great. Voiceover artist. Designer, digital artist. Awesome. Content creator and blogger. Designer. Okay, so I think we have quite. Someone says it's a typewriter. Seriously? Okay. I think we have a lot of designers here, but we also have a mix of other people. Business developer, illustrator, developer. Awesome. Okay. Well, like I said, I'm a designer anyway, so we can still find this useful. We can still find this useful. We will find it useful, and you know, we can always be able to empower the team that we work with or our clients to be able to have a proper perspective of how to come up with a brief, or why they should use a brief in the first place, and how to come up with a brief. And you as a designer, you as a creative would also get to know how the brief is actually effectual for you or helps you in actually handling your job. Like I said, we're running through how to write a brief, essence of a brief, and how to evaluate a creative. And when I say how to evaluate a creative, I mean like how to judge the outcome of your creative work. So back to, sorry about the digression. So I just wanted to have an idea of the people that we had in the house. So yeah, like I was saying, so the brief shows you exactly what is needed, what you need to do, right? The brief is supposed to show you what you need to do. It's supposed to lay out the goals for the piece of creative that you're working on, that you're developing, and then you are able to now evaluate whatever it is you are creating based on based on the objectives, based on the set of information that you had received prior to working on that creative, right? So that way you're not making a subjective decision, right? You're not dilly-dallying. You can be quite sure. So the brief sort of brings in focus. It brings the compass into your work, so you know what you're doing, and then you can be sure that okay, you're hitting the target right from the start, or if you're not hitting the target right from the start. So I mean that's the essence of the creative brief. Now, as a content creator, as art director, as creative director, as brand manager, account manager, communications person, you should know right? I should set it now that I should set the ground rule that you should know that the goal of the creative brief, the goal of the creative, the final work, whether it's a voiceover, whether it's design, whether it's illustration, photography, especially because I mean, for this case, I believe we're talking about creatives for marketing purposes, right? It's not just creatives. So let me say that it's creative for marketing purposes, right? So if you're a content creator, communications lead, brand manager, you know, you work with an agency, you work with a company, you work with a business or a product that you're trying to set out and push a product out and get people to buy or like the product or like the brand. Get it into your head that the goal of the creative is not to please you. The goal of the creative is to communicate your business along the lines of certain objectives and guidelines that would yield a particular kind of outcome, an expected outcome. So you don't expect the creative team or the designer or the voiceover person or copywriter to do something. I mean, you should just know that it's not for you. Yes, you might be the founder of the company. Yes, you might be the one in charge of the brand, but you should, first of all, detach yourself, you should be able to detach your own subjective view from the creative job, right? So now that I've established that, okay, my voice is breaking. Well, I hope you can hear me now. So let's go to the next slide, please. All right. Ideas come from inspiration. But relevant ideas come from information. So what I thought of this, right? I remember we've had different conversations so far this week, and we've talked about how to generate ideas, how to come up with remarkable ideas, you know, being sure about your idea, you know, and all of those things. But you know, as free flowing as a creative might want to be, you know, as you know, you want to explore, you have the juices, you're flowing, man, like it's unbalancing me and all of those kind of things. Like you just want to like do something mad, out of the box and all that. You should not forget that all your innovation and all your artistry, as far as you're working with a business, all your innovation and all your artistry needs to follow a particular plan and stand along some certain objectives that are clear. So your creative work should actually hit a particular purpose, serve a particular set of target audience, and bring an exact kind of result. So you are not, I mean, as a creative person and as the brand person and as a comms person, you are not just working on creative communication just because you are trying to talk. Like I've had an experience recently and it's still paining me. Like it's not because you just want to be talking. Like you're not just trying to write creative. You're not just trying to write a blog or article just because you want to write it and publish it. You're not posting for posting's sake. You know, you're not creating ads for the sake of just creating ads. There is something that you're meant to be trying to achieve as a business. So are you trying to build awareness? Are you trying to increase your reach? Are you trying to get people to move from one stage of the customer journey to another? Are you trying to increase your brand loyalty? What exactly? You know, there's always there's always a place where you are in the grand scheme of things. So you have to be sure that your creative is going to fall in line with serving these purposes, serving this target audience, serving this business objective, solving this problem, and bringing bringing a result to that organization, right? So I mean, when designers say design solves a problem, it's not just design that solves problems. The copywriter is solving a problem. The content creator or like the illustrator is solving a problem. The one that does the website, everybody's solving a problem because the business has a need. The business has a problem that you're trying to solve in order for you to be able to make sense of what it is you are pushing out or you are communicating to the target audience. All right. So next slide, please. So a creative brief must be directional and inspirational. So like I said, I mean, you have juices and you're flowing, right? Now, the reason why we have a creative brief for you is so that we are able to marshal how your juices or where your juices flow to, right? You have creativity. It's in you. Quite all right. but we have a particular set of audience. We have something that we're trying to achieve with this product. Also, we have competitors that we're trying to beat, outsmart. You know, there are things that we're trying to achieve, right? So please, let's take this your creative juice and let us have it flow along this direction. We're not just going to spray it all around, right? We're having something that we're trying to achieve, right? So that's why we have to that's why we have to be both directional and inspirational. So inspirational is also now where you have the voice of the brand, the feel that you want to have the creative come up with. You want people to have when they see your creative and all that. So you just know that your creative brief should be both towards a particular goal, while at the same time you're building some sort of emotion, some sort of feeling, and incorporating it into it. I call it mixing the food with the medicine. Okay, it's not me that called it that. I saw that watching a video. I don't know if you know Daps. Daps is a video director. And I was watching him talk about coming up with creative directions for his videos. And he mentioned that, and I was like, that's dope. You have to mix the food with the medicine. So he said food go bitter. Okay, so the food isn't going to get bitter. Actually, the food is not going to get bitter. What will happen is that you're trying to imagine. I mean, for me, like when I was like a kid, and maybe I fall ill, and I'm not eating. Exactly. Now, so that they mix drug with pap for us that year. So that way, you go chop, and at the same time, you go still use your drug. And that same thing applies to your customers. You are trying to arouse a particular kind of feeling and emotion in them, and at the same time, you're trying to market your product, and at the same time, you're trying to achieve a business objective. So you have to mix it together. The inspirational thing is the food. That's what entices you. That's what you love. That's what's inspirational. That's the emotional. That's what we call storytelling and all that. Now you have to push it alongside, into a direction. And that's where your marketing objectives comes in. That's where your particular type of messaging comes in, and all of those kind of things, right? So yeah, a creative brief must be directional and inspirational, like I said. Next slide, please. I'm hoping I'm able to make exactly 1 hour. The essence of a creative brief is to furnish the creative team and clients with as much information as possible. You are furnishing them with as much information as possible so that they are inspired to come up with creative deliverables that yield untold genius for the business or the brand. Now, that's English, but it's not English, right? I'm just trying to say, in essence, you are mixing the food with the medicine, right? That's in essence what this part is just saying. That the point of it says zero. The point of the creative brief is to help with as much information that gets your creative team have their juices flowing, right? And then they're able to come up with some beautiful genius that actually works for that business or for that brand. Next slide, please. So here we go. How to write a creative brief, guys. I hope you are finding this meaningful and you're able to pick up 1 or 2 things. I'm also hoping that you're able to sort of get and encourage other people who are not in here to come in now, and just like be able to get themselves abreast of the things that they need to get abreast of. I'm going to. I just feel like, in a way, there's a part of this, and I feel like that makes me feel like I should actually make this content into a paid kind of class, but because I like it a lot. Okay, comfort. Oh, I'm happy you love the class. So yeah, how to write a creative brief. Let's go to the next slide, please. Okay, remove your suit and tie. Okay, so but what I'm just trying to say generally is this: it is critical that you're able to understand that the audience for the creative brief is not you, like I said earlier. So, Mr. Brand Manager, Mr. Account Manager, Mr. Marketing Executive, Mr. Client, kindly remove your suit and tie when you're writing a creative brief, right? Kindly kindly calm down. Do you get? Because you are targeting your audience is a creative team, is the writer, is a designer. Go to the next slide. Go to the next slide. So what's happening with you? Okay. So to get the best out of your brief, you will have to think of the creative brief as an ad targeted to creative people. And when we say creative people, people like Demola that has dreads on his head. You know that the head is not correct. I'm joking, no. But I mean, you know that you're talking to you're talking to creative people who are, some of them are weird, some of them have like they have creative ideas. They have juices and all of those things, right? So when you're writing your brief, take that into your head. Keep that in mind. And so when you're writing the brief, you should make sure that you are able to trigger the things that help these guys, right? You're able to give them, if you have to use informal language, if you have to use memes, if you have to use swear words, just insert it in places where you know that this thing is able to help these guys see more. In essence, I'm not saying you should do anything crazy, right? The point is just that let loose and hint the emotion that you think you want in the final creative. Like, let loose and insert that emotion. Let us see that emotion. Speak their language. Exactly. Speak the language of a creative when you're writing a creative brief. Do you get? So that's what I mean by remove your suit and tie. I wish I could play this to my folks. So don't worry, you will get to, I mean, I don't know, maybe you might have to pay for the recorded version eventually. First you will decide. So yeah, can we go to the next slide? Second, create a goal post. Some people say I can share footballer now. So when I say create a goal post, what I mean is just this, that there's a clear reason you want to have your creative communication. Like I said, you're not just spraying and shooting everywhere. I mean, there's something you're trying to achieve. There's an objective you're trying to get. There's a problem you're trying to solve. There's an audience you're trying to talk to. Are you trying to acquire new customers? Are you trying to get new people to try your products? Are you trying to ask loyal customers to buy more? Are you advertising for a brand new product in a brand new market? Do you want to build some brand awareness? Are you trying to create top of mind? Are you trying to create loyalty? I mean, are you trying to establish thought leadership? Are you trying to establish leadership in the industry, or among your competitors? Are you trying to set yourself apart from competitors? Like, you really don't just want to allocate a budget for communication without actually defining where that communication fits into the brand, right? And so that means there's a goalpost, right? Now, most likely you have that goalpost predefined as a comms person, as a comms lead, as a marketing guy, right? So that goalpost that you have, please bring it into the creative brief, right? Next slide. So actual business problems inspire creatives. I hope I'm right, creative guys. Like, when you actually see business problems, you actually feel inspired because you want to help the brand, because you want to help this person, you want to help this business. You actually feel inspired when you get to see the problem and you understand and have context and understand the situation that they are going through, right? So when you are creating the goalpost, you are trying to help the creative team understand the exact problem that is to be solved. So ultimately, when a creative asset is produced, with the business objective as top of mind, it is easy to actually now defend the aesthetic choices or the creative choices, because the creative asset has been produced with a goal in mind, with a set of things in mind, right? So yeah, let's go to the next slide, please. Remove creative red flags. Some of you might be like, last, at the football match, because at the ball suit, at the tie, at the big go post daddy, as you see in your flag. Right, but let me show you why we have to do this. Go to the next slide, please. Saying a monkey post. All right, take a look at the following words. Right, if you are a content creator, communications lead, marketing manager, accounting executive, whatever, all the big titles, right? Please look at these words, make it pop, jazz it up. This should not take long. I'll know it when I see it. This is my first thought, but you are the creative. We are just looking for new directions and options. Do something different. Bro, all these things, please try and not use them in your creative brief, because these things are not directions. They are not creative directions. So you are just yarning okotomio screw. Right? always like you're not helping, you're not giving sourcing. Like I said, a creative brief is meant to be directional and inspirational. And this is neither inspiring anybody. I'm sure it's not inspiring you, nor is it giving you any direction when you say make it pop, jazz it up. No. What should pop? Is it popcorn? Am I Michael Jackson, the king of pop? Right? So, I mean, you aren't helping the creative by sharing these things. So avoid using them. Now, we'll go to the next slide, please. Look at this guy. He says, I did this at home with Microsoft Paint. Can you make it look like this? You know, it's not wrong for you as a content creator or as the client to come up with suggestions, creative suggestions. Like, for real, I actually think it's also going to help. It's also going to help the creative if you have something in mind, right? Of course, you sort of have an idea what you want. Because you have an idea what you want does not mean that that exact thing that you want is what would be done. Do you understand? Like, because, like I said initially, you have to be able to remove yourself from the final creative. Do you get? You have to be able to take yourself out. You have to actually be seen from the lens of the problem you're trying to solve. Do you get? You have to just, as a client, you have to just be able to help yourself see from that perspective, right? So I'm not saying it's wrong. You can come up with it, but don't feel like that's exactly what should be worked on. Now, I know that there might be troubles with creatives, and we're like, I can't say this to my clients, I can't say this to my oga, but the essence of this entire class is so that you're able to have some more perspective and understand why you need a creative brief, how it works, right? And then create some rapport with the person that you work directly with, and then help them see from this perspective. Do you get? I'm not trying to, like both the previous Make It Pop slide and this slide, I'm not trying to hunt the marketing guy, the client. Like, no, that's not it. I'm not even trying to educate them. But I'm just, the point, that's why I wish that we had a lot of comms people in this slide, so that you're able to see the reason why you have too many back and forth with your creative guys. You're able to see reason why you got the creative done, you got the voiceover, the radio ad, or the print ad, whatever it is that you got, and then you are not sure, or you don't like what it is or something. It's because you haven't helped the creative guy feel get as much information, and then also feel as inspired enough to do this job. Do you get? So as a creative person, you should, I don't know, that's supposed to be another class separately, where you as a creative person should be able to now know how to help your clients on the other side see the essence of this. Do you get? Understand what this means and all of those things, right? Next slide, please. Yeah. So this is a little bit just saying another level of what I've said before, but in a different way. And I'm saying write precise insights, or else it's just vibes. It's vibes. Today says they want to attend classes like this. Well, we'll start preaching the message some more, and they'll be able to be abreast of information like this, I believe. Because the point is not that we're trying to, as a creative, we're not trying to make you feel good. I'm not trying to make any designer feel good based on like by showing these things. No, I'm just trying to point out that both yourself and the client, there's something that you both are trying to achieve. And please, let's just focus on that thing. Let's just get that thing done and reduce the trauma that both the client and the designer has. The trauma that you go through, and the things that make it hard for you to come up with your creative communications as fast as possible. Right. So I said, now go to the next slide, please. Everything can't matter. Now, simply put, you can't be the problem provider and this. I mean, you can't be the problem provider and the solution provider at the same time, because when you are thinking from that perspective, you are going to be jamming too many things into your creative brief. Do you understand, right? So take the time to sort through the insights you have and carefully provide details that matter the most. Eliminate all redundancies and be sure that from top to bottom, the brief tells only what is essential. Now, because I mean, I'm not thinking of just designers when I was working on this thing. Like I mentioned to Victor this morning, like this is not just for designers, and so that's why it's looking like this, right? So as a comms lead, as the account manager, as a brand manager, as a brand strategist, as a business owner or founder, and generally as the client who requests, as a person who requests for creative briefs, I'm expecting that you're able to have as much insights as to your products, information as to your products, information as to pricing your products, information as to where how customers are reaching your products, where are they finding your products, information as to the kind of places that you are placing your ads and communication materials, So you have all of this bulk of information, but actually when you're working on the brief, you can't cram everything in. You're not going to cram everything in. You're not going to be sending the brief of so many pages. Do you understand? You just need to pick out some very, very important insights and put them in, and that's all. So just make sure that you have what is essential and what is essential alone. Do you get? And when I say what is essential, and when I say you are not supposed to just be going broad, this is what I mean. Look at the next slide. The target audience is males and female, age 0 and up. Like, bro. No, so this is a bit sarcastic, right? But it's also true in a way, right? Because I mean, this just shows that you don't have the right information. You came up with your target audience by just coming up with it. You didn't actually look at the necessary things that you needed to look at in defining and understanding your target audience, understanding their person, their kind of persons, the things that they need to know, and all of those things. You were not specific enough. So when you don't share specific information and insights, the one that is needed with the creative person, he's lost in tracks. Do you get? He's lost in tracks. And so you give him good information here, you give him bad information there, you give him good information here, you give him bad information there. That does not help your creative communication at the end of the day. That does not help your brand at the end of the day. That does not help you reach the bottom line or achieve your business objectives at the end of the day. So it all trickles down. It just trickles down, right? So why? I mean, the guy that says you target everybody, you target people of 25 to 60 years old. And that do not work. Like, guy, how can you target people from the age of 25 to 60 years old, or all men and women? Like, guy, if you have a wide range of customers, right, and you have your target as indeed big, all you need to do is simple. Just have a separate creative brief for every group of consumer and communication. So you have a separate brief, and you have your consumers into different baskets, sort of, because based on the similarities that these consumers share. So like I was saying, so if you have a big audience and all that, all you need to really do is to be able to group this different audience and these different consumers based on the similarities that they share, right? They have different similarities. It doesn't matter that they are male and female, it's 0 and up. Yes, you are right. Actually, you might be targeting you might be targeting a large range of people, but the point is that they are probably trying this range of people are probably in different kind of having different kind of personalities, or they are at different stage of the customer journey when it comes to your product or your brand. So you have to be able to now separate your creative brief for these different consumers or the different customer journey types. Of, like, you just have to get more specific. The more specific you are, the better it is for you and the creative guy. And so you're able to understand, your consumers some more, and they come up with something that is very effective. you know. So I hope that's clear. Can we go to the next slide, please? What are the essential elements of a creative brief? All right, so first is description. Here, what you simply are trying to do is to state the problem, give a background. So this is like, so at this point, I'm being succinct now, right? I've given you an idea of the essence of a brief, the idea of the things that you should like remove from the back of your mind or put at the back of your mind. I've given you different things to take into consideration when you're writing the brief, right? Now, why you're now trying to put this thing down, pen and paper, just try and look into these different subsections and then create information that are insightful, essential information that are insightful under them. So state the problem, just give a brief background as to why you are having the creative, why you want to have the radio ad, and explain a little bit about what the creative is supposed to do. Just give you just very succinct explanation, right? We are introducing a new product to the market, and the market is saturated by a certain number of the market is saturated, or we have a certain number of competitors, and we're trying to break into this segment of that market, right? Just simple. Then you go ahead to define the target audience. Now, this may be a general target or a smaller subset. So I don't know how it makes sense to say primary audience and secondary audience, but I just feel like rather than talk about primary audience and secondary audience, I just feel like it's just cool to, you have a general audience, fine, but more importantly, the purpose is not for you to have primary, secondary, and tertiary. The purpose is for you to be able to meet the people at their point of need, at their emotional point of need, and at their functional point of need, right? So you are able to have a large set of audience to attend to, but break these people down into subsets, right? So for this particular brief you're creating, what subset are you focusing on? For this particular ad you want to create, what subset are you focusing on? Extra Cool is for this kind of clients, right? Easy Click is for the same, Extra Cool is for this kind of client. Okay, I'm using the wrong product now. Let me see. Let's just say Extra Cool is for this kind of client, and they have another product for older age clients, right? And you have other products for kids, right? So you have different creative briefs that attention. So in essence, MTN still targets the large population, but they have the different clients within that same population. Pardon my inability to come up with a very good example right now. I might not be very good at this. So the more specific you are, the better it is, right? So just be able to give sourcing details about your customer, your target audience, and let the creative understand their interests, their behavior, their likes and dislikes, their emotions, basically. So you might want to try and understand or read up about customer persona. It's not something I think I should be talking about in this class. So next slide, please. Oh, sorry, don't go to the next slide. I'm not done. Okay. So next thing is to talk about the desired customer audience, the desired customer or audience action. So what's the action that you want to elicit, or like what's the action that you want to bring out of your customers at the end of seeing that creative, or at the end of listening to that ad, or at the end of engaging with your creative? You have to have something that you want to, you have to be specific, you have to have something that you want them to do, and you have to be specific with it, right? So, for digital products, we easily now have call to action buttons where you see an ad and you're able to click the link to follow, or click the link to buy now, or click the link to download now, or click the link. So, after you see an ad, you're able to quickly take an action, right? For a non-digital communication or a non-digital ad, you might not be able to put a call to action click on your communication, right? But you have to be able to think of the specific reaction that you want the customer to have. What do you want them to do immediately they see your ad? So it could be as specific as I want customer B. I didn't say customer A now because you have customer A, B, C, D. So I assume that customer B are mothers. So I want customer B to think of our toothpaste the next time they go to a grocery store. So we have customer A. Customer A is a student. They probably go to school. boarding school and all the likes. Some of them will buy your products by themselves. Some of them have their moms buy your products. Some of them some of them don't care about their tooth hygiene and all the like. So you're saying, okay, we're not creating this communication for this set of people. We're looking at nursing mothers, for example, and we're saying next time nursing mothers are going to the store, they're going to be able to pick. They're going to be able to think of our toothpaste, share you get and buy. So just be specific about that exact action that you want the customer, to take, right? Next thing is metrics. So you have to also be able to decide, okay, what defines the success of this communication and how is it to be measured? Just simple as that. Okay, it's easy with digital products in a way, right? You can easily be able to say, okay, we're looking at we're going to have so number of engagements. We want to have so number of engagements, so number of click-through rates, so number of opens, so number of this and that, right? And then you're able to now say, okay, at the end of the creative, do we get that number? How much do we get? How did we fare, right? For offline products, it's not necessarily the same, but you still have to be able to say, okay, all our marketing efforts, how is it supposed to go? So if you're able to help the designer or the copywriter be able to see that, okay, this is the desired action I want the audience to take. This is the desired, this is the end goal that we are trying to achieve with this entire campaign or with this entire creative. We are trying to, this is what makes it successful or not. And this is how it is going to be measured. So the creative also knows the extent of his work in terms of getting your product your communication to succeed in the market. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? All right, so the next thing to talk about or to include is what is the net takeaway from the creative? If the target audience remembers nothing else from the creative material, if you don't remember to click the call to action, if you don't remember to do anything, what is the one thing that sticks with them just after they have interacted with your communication? What is one thing that they will remember? So at this point, I'm expecting that you should already have defined a message for whatsoever stage the customer journey, the customer that you're targeting is, right? You should have a defined message, right? So we have the customer journey, we have awareness, we have interest. Are you trying to gain awareness or get interest? Are you trying to, are they at the consideration stage? Are they at the conversion stage? Are they at the loyalty stage? What stage is that audience? So even if this set of audience do not do the exactly the desired action, right? What would they take away from that ad? What would they take away from that communication, right? So that way you're not just going to come up with the creative is not going to come up with the creative that is just going to directly say buy our soap, right? It's going to know that, okay, like I need to insert some emotion, this kind of emotion into this, because this is the kind of thing that we want to make them feel like. So it's just similar to what Ope explained the other day. You can't try to get a girl to marry you the very first day you introduce yourself to her. Do you understand? You don't go on a first date with somebody and propose marriage to them on that first date. Your goal is to get them on the second date. But in getting them on the second date, for them to actually agree to go on the second date with you, they have a perception of you that they have kept in their hearts. Do you get? So that is what I'm talking about here. What are you living with your girl, with your audience? Your audience is your girl. What are you living with them? What are they keeping in their head that is making them think of you when you are not there anymore? Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So it's that same scope. Like, I know all of you already know these things because I'm sure you are smiling now. I know all of you already know these things. So you're able to just use that same thing to, deal with your brand and deal with your product. So the next thing is your brand personality and your brand tonality. And this is where having a predefined brand strategy comes in. So serious businesses and serious brands usually have their brand strategy in order. Unserious ones don't. And I know what I mean by that. So generally, what kind of person will your brand be if it were a human? And how would it sound? This is your brand personality. This is what brand personality and tonality means. That's what brand tone means. That's what brand personality means, right? So now the reason you are putting this in your creative brief is to help or to remind whoever is working on the communication the designer, the copywriter, the voiceover person, whoever is working on your creative, you're helping them, you're reminding them that everything they do should bring to life this specific kind of personality and this specific kind of tone. Do you understand? So the point is this, like I said, your creative brief is going to be both directional and inspirational. So this kind of thing now is giving them an idea of how to inspire, do you get? And at the same time, giving them a direction of what to maintain in your brand communication, right? Then lastly, the final thing is to have non-negotiables. So there are certain things that you really must, like, you really know that they have to be involved when it comes to executing the creative. Could it be the print format? Could it be dimension? Or could it be the creative format? Could it be dimension? Could it be where you place logos? Could it be the use of taglines? Could it be certain kind of compulsory words? Could it be certain kind of compulsory positioning of your image, of your text, of the voice, you know, or the kind of sound? There are certain things that are non-negotiable for your business or for your brand. Can you just help the designer see these things once and for all, so you don't have to go back and start correcting? Okay, you placed our logo upside down here. Like, guy, that's the logo that you sent to me. Do you get? Like, just make sure that you have your non-negotiable sorted out in the brief. So now, while you have all these 7 things in your brief, be sure that you are giving adequate information without giving too much or without giving unnecessary information. So there's a difference between adequate information and necessary information. So you have to be sure that what you are doing is giving the creative guy necessary information. Yeah. Next slide, please. How to evaluate a creative brief? How to evaluate a creative. So this is where we are able to say, now that you have written your creative brief, now that I have shared it with the copywriter, you shared it with the creative team, or you shared it with the designer, right? Shared it with them. When they come back to you, you're going to have to judge what they show you. Obviously, you're the one paying the money, right? You're going to determine if it works or not. Especially because now you have a creative brief to inform them, right? So you are going to have to now judge according to the brief that you have shared with them. Do you see why it makes sense to have a creative brief that is good enough? Do you see why it makes sense to have a creative brief in the first place and have it be as succinct and inspirational as possible, right? So talking about evaluating a creative brief, I'm going to now share with us a framework. So I actually found a framework while I was studying, while I was looking up for, I was doing some studies recently, and then I found this framework. I read about it, and I sort of realized that it's not even a popular framework, right? So I'm sharing it with you guys so that, because I found it freely, so freely am I going to give, right? Okay, I didn't find it freely. I paid for it actually. So FourthCanvas, I paid for this thing that I'm sharing. So if you guys want to, no, Tunji, I paid for it though. So if you guys want to share this slide, I'm hoping that you guys are going to be able to monetize it. So it's called the Hope Framework. Now, the Hope Framework is designed around one fundamental reality, and that is the fact that when you're marketing your brand or your business, it involves both the heart and the mind. And that's why I said, that's why I always say to myself, or that's why I sort of come up with a definition for my interest, which is exploring the art and science of creating and delivering value to satisfy the needs of users, right? Because it involves both heart and both the mind, right? So you're using your mind to calculate, and then your heart is how you feel. Do you get? So you are looking at the customer uses their heart and their mind in deciding. Their mind is going to tell them if your price is too much or not, but their heart is going to make them be like, but if people see me holding this wristwatch, they will think I'm a big girl, right? Why the mind is going to tell them that, oh no, you don't have this money. Do you understand what I'm trying to say? So it has to be, you know that your creative, marketing your brand or business is going to involve both the heart and the mind. So you would not want to stay too much on one side of both when you're evaluating the creative or your communication materials. That way you're going to miss the power and perspective of the other sides. So you have to be sure that you're using both. And this framework succinctly helps you, use both your heart and your mind in evaluating creative briefs. So yeah, let's go to the next slide, please, where we see the framework. It's called the Hope Framework. And basically what hope means is heart on point execution. I'm sure it's easy to write that down, and it's probably easy to it's a open a dot screenshot time. No worry. Even if in a screenshot time, you know what I mean. I'm sharing it freely so that you guys can also be able to learn and also, of course, share with your people, right? So the whole framework is just a 3-step process that guides you when you're evaluating a creative deliverable, right? And so you're going to be sure that you're using both your heart and your mind. You're going to be sure that you are looking both from the perspective of science and from the perspective of art, not heart now, but art. All right. 803. Okay, I'm almost done. So the heart, when we say the heart refers to, so this is it. When you get the creative work, maybe an ad or a voiceover recording, right? Try and notice your spontaneous reaction once you set sight or listen to that creative or interact with it. Just pay attention to what your response is like. That split-second response, that purely subjective response, the instant you look at it, just answer in your head, do I like how it makes me feel when I first see it? Like, do I like how it makes me feel? Just answer that question. Don't spend a lot of time in doing this. Just notice, just observe your own personal response to this and put that at the back of your mind and move on to the next step. Don't overthink it. Just notice, okay, I set my eye on this thing and it makes me feel good or not. Note it and keep it at, don't go on from there. Just notice and keep it at the back of your mind, right? Then the next thing to do is to be on point. Now, at this point, you can now get analytical and judge based on the brief. Do you see that? You first of all have a subjective opinion about that work and keep it in your mind. Go ahead and now judge what you see based on the brief that you created and shared. Now, this would necessarily most likely take your time because you have to now observe, is the brand personality there? Does it focus on this target audience? Does it sound right? Does it erupt this kind of emotion? Does it make people want to come up with this kind of desired action? Of course, I believe a creative should also have some explanations or rationale behind sharing that piece of communication with you, right? So just observe the points that you have noted in the brief. You can try and do that before checking the creative. So just answer the question in your head. Is this creative on point, right? Does it express the net takeaway? Does it embody the brand personality? Does it solve the directive that I outlined in the brief? So at this point, it is important that you are analytical. Don't allow your emotions into this place. Do you understand? Now, just make a purely objective assessment based on what you have seen, right? Now, agreed, I agree that this is going to require some level of skill and practice, right? It's not going to be an easy thing. I've not practiced it a lot. In fact, I'm not sure I've written a creative brief after I stumbled on this framework. So we are both sort of newbies in this, right? I'm not the leader, right? So after you've done this, just after you've analyzed based on the brief, then we'll go to the next stage or the next step, which is execution. Okay, so imagine the creative in actual use. At this point, what you have to just do is now imagine the creative in the final use. Is it a billboard? Imagine it in the marketplace. Is it a radio? Imagine it. Is it a radio ad? Imagine it in a downfall. Just try and observe. Okay, picture this thing. Use your imagination and picture this thing in the future, in the final execution. Is the text too short? Is the logo visible enough? Do we have white text on a white background that's going to make the text not visible somewhere? If it is printed, would the printed version be good enough? Do we have wrong spelling? Do we have wrong pronunciation? Do we have foul language? You know, do we have sensitive copy, sensitive text, right? Does this package fit into a standard retail shelving? Is it too big? Will it take off too much space? Would it make an impression? Just try and picture that creative in the final usage, right? So just look through at this stage. You might have to even take some more time. So that's why I'm like this framework is going to require some level of practice and skill, right? And I'm sure not everybody will get that once. Like I said, I've not practiced it myself, right? But I know that coming from a designer perspective, or a creative perspective, and also from a marketing perspective or a communications perspective or a business perspective, you're able to understand that, like I said, it is good that you're able to capture both the heart and the mind of your audience. And this framework helps you do that very well. And we can see it visibly in how it is broken down, right? So at this level, you just have to look at all the minute details, the specific details that is easy to miss. So spelling errors, I've actually experienced one recently, one error in print, and it was really crazy. We were supposed to print about 100,000 copies of flyers for our brand, and we're sending it to 100,000 for about 6 different states. Yes. So we started with the one that we're going to print for Lagos alone, and more than half of it were printed in RGB. I think as a designer, you should know that when you're done with your creative and it's supposed to be for print format, you're supposed to have it in CMYK format, because most printers won't do DI, they will do color separation. So I've seen both sides, so I cannot. So I know that you're supposed to be able to. As the designer, you're supposed to know that, and as the marketing guy, you have that expectation, right? So if as the one on the if you are the one leading the creative team, you are the marketing person or you're a comms person, have you checked that box? Have you confirmed from the designer that is this thing saved in CMYK? Are the spellings correctly? Are the words correctly spelled out? Do we have sensitive information? Right? Is it on brand like, or is it brand like? Right? Now, this is not going to be easy from where I stand, right? But I just know that you will need to calm down and be as granular and precise as possible. In the end of the day, you are trying to avoid embarrassing and costly mistakes with this stage of the framework. So do all these 3. Now bring it all together. Do you have a slide like that? Bring it all together, right? Now ask yourself, do you like it? That's the first thing again. Do you like it? When you like, go back in your memory, when you saw the creative, did you like it? Yes, you liked it, or not? Did you express the points that you needed to express or not? Then does it have executional challenges or advantages, right? So look through once again, right? The conclusions that you make in the execution stage might be tough to argue with, because they are solid, they are logistical, right? It's like spelling is wrong. White text on white background is wrong. Like, nobody can argue that. The creative guy can argue that with you, right? The person that is creating the ad and uses a particular kind of language and says something wrong is wrong. So that one is solid. So it's easy to get through with that. But for step 1 and step 2, which is the hard and on point, it can be a little bit hazy and ambiguous. But I think that it's just easy to sit down, just calm down, and just pick it one after the other. Of course, you might not get it right at the first time, or you might not do it well enough, right? But with practice, you get better. So I also think that it's easy for people to have the inclination to lean on one of these 3 steps. That's one of the problems that. So if you're not even working with this framework, when you judge a creative work, you notice that you most likely stick to one of these 3 unknowingly. You are either sticking to being too emotional about the creative work, or you are being too conscious of the logistic details, of the executional details, or you are being too conscious of the brand details, of the business details, right? So if you are very gut oriented about the creative, you might likely be very analytical, and then you get tangled in the execution details, right? I mean, so but with time, you just have to find your blend, right? Just find your blend and look at the creative again, and then understand your own tendency, and then use the framework to make sure that you are fine from all the respective angles, from all the possible angles, right? So I think that brings me to the end of the class. That brings me to the end of the class, and yeah. So final slide, please. You can ask questions, and please drop offerings, and wash your hands. Thank you. So yeah.
Thank you very much, AJ. That was a very expository session. And yeah,
Awesome.
from the question you asked initially, that the kind of audience you are listening to. So 69% of people in this house are actually designers. We have 70% being copywriters.
Wow.
We have we have about 12.82% who are copywriters, account managers, voiceover artists, learners, business developers,
Amazing.
developers, among others. Then we have a very sizable number of people who are still finding their purpose in life, who call themselves human beings, guitar designers, Malians, typewriters, papa pies, tissue money, amongst others. Please go and find your purpose in life. That's who you are. Eh? We are looking for
Awesome. I'm so happy to know that we have
purpose.
a very good mix of people.
Yeah, so I'm very sure that after this session, they'll be able to evaluate and create the brief of their life and get better in the kind of things they do. So please, you can start
that's
dropping your questions now. Drop your questions for AJ. Drop your offering for me. You know I'm the host. Thank you very much.
Oh, serious? Where's your slide?
And yeah. So a very so just drop your questions, please. Drop your questions. So we have one question.
I'll be happy if there are no questions, Shao, because because I'm gonna ask you something I don't know now.
So someone said, so AJ, first question.
Yeah.
From Olakoke Temitayo. He said, how do you deal with clients who will box your creative tendency? There are clients who think they have figured it all out. How do you manage them? People like Trump with a smiley emoji. It's actually a laughter emoji.
Okay, so Temitayo, thank you for the question. So I want to see it in two ways, right? You could have clients and you could have bosses, or like someone like, I mean, when I say bosses, I mean like your creative, your communications lead, or your creative director, who sort of have these things figured out, right? Now, that's the point of having the brief as well. So it helps you and them both agree on the exactly needed information and the objective of the creative brief itself, right? Now, dealing with them is going to need you to be very tactful and also understanding. First things first, you can't have your way all the time, right? I've seen that, right? So you can't have your way all the time. But the point is that you are able to also help them see and know that you know what you're doing. And in doing that, what you have to do is when you have to, educate them. Listen, agree, but educate. Do you understand? Sometimes you might even try to ask questions that make them ask themselves that, okay, it should make sense or not. So, but that means that you yourself have to be on top of your game as much as possible. Don't just rely on your creative juices. Be more valuable than just the creative part that you have in you. Be able to step into that person's shoes and help the person see that you are even seeing the goal also from where you are standing as a creative. Do you understand? So I hope that answers the question.
Yeah. So the next question is from Tosin Adeni. It says it's more like a feedback, like make your head sweat more. And the question. So it says, awesome session. How do you communicate feedback when the issue with the creative is the designer style?
how do you communicate feedback when the issue with the creative is the designer's style? So when you say designer style, I believe what you meant is the creative direction, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Um,
something like that, I believe.
um, so that's why I said that when you are writing, when you are coming up with a brief, you should remove your suit and tie and talk to the creative in the language of a creative. So if you do that, you are able to where you have to where you have to sound in a particular kind of playful, but not really playful way. When you have to try to elicit certain kind of style that you want, where you find it easy for you to include that in your brief. Do you get? If it is the case that you want, you can actually in your brief you can actually take the energy to take screenshots or post images of things that you think that things that follow the kind of style that you think suits what you want, right? Include it in the creative brief, but don't expect the creative designer or the creative person. Okay, this is the designer in place. Don't expect the designer to come back with an exact replica of that thing that you did. That's a very bad approach. You can give him benchmarks. Give your designer benchmarks. Let them see the style. Let them see the direction that you want, right? Give them as much inspirational information, but don't expect that or don't have them create the exact same thing for you, because the point is that you are trying to solve a problem that was not solved by that same brand before. That same brand is also probably not targeting the same audience that you are targeting, or that same brand is also like there's a lot of things that make you that shows that you shouldn't actually have that same thing replicated. You don't want to be called out in public for replicating a previous brand's communication style, right? So, and if you are working, if you have a business or a brand, the designer style issue should be solved if you have your own brand strategy predefined and you have your own. And when you have your brand strategy predefined, you easily can say that you have your visual style defined as well, and it's easy for any creative to now work along the lines of that thing that you have set before them. Do you get?
Yeah. Yeah, thank you very much. So I would also like to add quickly, I think especially when it comes to brand identity, I think that's why it's important to create mood boards and stylescapes such
Yeah.
that there is deliberation over it. So, and I think concerning designer style, I think designers should also understand the fact that the design is not for you. So if, for
Yeah.
example,
Designers should also understand that. Yes.
yeah, you're not the one that will consume the design. So if, for example, what would work is, let's say, images, and just because you know how to do illustrations better, you decide to use illustration, you are not solving the problem. And we all say that design is problem solving. So at times, the designer needs to be able to go outside of their style. And if if the style you're supposed to execute is something beyond your capacity, maybe you might look into outsourcing to someone who will be able to execute along the style that has, or the direction that has been given to
Exactly.
you, such that not just the client or the company exactly, but your customers and people, the kind of metrics or whatever goals you are trying to achieve can also be achieved.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you. Thank you.
those are just like additional thoughts that I have with respect to that question. So we have another question from Okafor Ikechuku. He says,
Okay.
what do you do when clients don't know how to pass their brief properly? From past
When clients
experience,
don't know how to
pass
pass
how
their
to pass
brief
their
properly.
brief properly. That is, they can't explain what exactly it is that they want.
Yeah.
So he's saying from past experience, they say stuff like, you're a creative, you should know what to do. Like, problem with you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So he said, so what should you do? The client is not communicating properly. They are not giving you whatsoever their objective, their aim is. It's not clear.
So as a designer, that's why a designer should also be in this session, because as a designer, you deal with different kind of different type of clients in life, and you can't expect that every client is the same. Do you understand? So some may give you adequate information, some will not give you adequate information. Some will give you good vibes, some will not give you good vibes. Some will help your work, some will not help your work. So when you have a situation with a client that does not pass out their brief properly, when you see properly, maybe like with enough information, all you simply have to do is ask those questions. Like interact. I mean, it's your clients, like ask them, like you know what you're doing now. Before they came to you, before anybody goes to the doctor, I mean, they trust in the doctor in the first place. So you position yourself as that guy who knows what he's doing. So ask the necessary questions that you know that are supposed to be in a brief. Probably even put it together in a brief and send it to him and show him that, okay, this is the creative brief. Do you agree with these things or not? So you have the elements of your creative brief also ticked. So you show him and he sees and he says, okay, yes or no. Do you get? And then you now take off from there. So that way you are not dilly-dallying or making any decision behind the clients, because of course the client is the one paying you. And like I said, you have different types of clients. So the client should also be carried along in the job.
So very importantly, carry your clients along. So I think that answers this other question by Olaniyi, which says, how do you cope with clients giving unreasonable rewards, making you start the process all over again?
How do you
cope with clients giving unreasonable rewards? I think corrections.
Okay. Yeah. So yeah. I mean that's the point of. So if the client is serve you with a brief initially, go ahead, talk to this person, have a conversation, ask further questions, because like I said, if you are going to position yourself or sound like what you know what you're doing, like an expert, like a consultant, you have to be able to ask questions. Ask questions. Doctor, when you go to the doctor does not just give you drugs. He asks you, how you feeling? Okay, what goes on here? What goes on there? When I touch you here, do you feel anything? When I do that, so ask the questions and then get the needed information. Put it into the brief. Show the clients. Get the client's approval, and then move on again from there.
Okay. Thank you very much.
I hope these answers are clear, though. Tosin, Okafor, Olaniyi. Who else is asking the question? I hope the answers are clear.
Yeah. I think the answers are pretty clear enough. It's just about individual being now being able to take action with respect to the things you've said. Because at times, as creatives, you might be scared that, oh, what will this client think and all of those things. So I think action is the next thing. So this next question, this person is actually toasting you and and scam you at the same time. So I will read it the way the person has actually presented the question. So he said, President.
What's the name of the person?
So the person's name is Oyemiro Oladimeji.
Okay.
So the person is saying, President AJ sir, saying about how can we have access to a detailed framework? Please do all right to Mr. President to be
mad.
So,
tell him that I don't talk. The president does not talk.
Mr. President has decided to keep quiet. So, but any insights though, maybe a resource, even if they have to pay, like where do they go to get?
I would actually. I mean, this is really free. I'm feeling happy right now because I've been shying away from doing this kind of things, but now I'm being challenged to do more and to do better. So I'm going to sit down and properly craft out a plan on how to share more resources, more knowledge, and get people to know more, and also learn by myself, because I also get to learn from doing this. So of course you'll find out soon. Stay close to the network, stay close to Force network, stay close to my network, and then you get to know.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Enira.
Yeah. So this next question is from Palumi Alonge. So it's saying, okay, so how do you handle clients who don't know how briefs work? For example, this guy, he gave me this flyer design, and after I sent it, I don't change virtually everybody gave me. How do I handle people like that who can't make up their minds? Talk less of knowing how the brief works.
I think we already explained that with that answer. So create the brief and send it to them, get their final approval, and then move.
Yeah, could they body carry them along. Any questions?
Okay, so Tosi says, I lead a team of designers that all have their own visual styles. They sometimes struggle to understand the brand identity. That's a blessing. Like, that's a blessing, having designers who have their own visual styles. You shouldn't try to copy them, but when help them understand that, okay, we're working on communication for our brand, right? This is what the brand looks like. This is what we want to look like visually, right? Help them see through that. Once the designer is able to assimilate that in the subconscious, their creative juice will still definitely blend with this brand identity, with this direction. Do you get? So
Yeah.
I don't think I think it's a blessing that you have people who have different directions and different styles. And the point is that when you have a template, or not necessarily a template, but when you have a brand guide, when you have a style, when you have a brand style, they're able to easily fall along the lines of that same thing, you know?
Okay, so there's another question from Didi Creations. It says, great session, although I came in, that's the own problem. Let me go to the question. So in a situation whereby you are working on a project for a client and some of the deliverables meet up, and then on a particular one, there's a bad blood because someone else comes in to make suggestions that will need, for example, a design's intent means its purpose. How do you communicate this to the client in the best possible way? Thanks. I'm trying to figure out this question. You come later and ask long questions. Who does that?
So I can't remember what I was reading recently, and that thing was talking about finding out the decision makers early on, before getting to start a project, right? Be sure about decision makers. Sometimes you can't be sure, actually, sadly, especially in Nigeria, where your boss has a boss. So the point is just that if you have, I was listening to a Samadhi conversation. That's where we talked about it. So, but the point is just that if you have a creative brief, which is pen and paper, which is black and white, it just simply means that you worked with a particular piece of information, a set of information. So even if there's bad blood, right, you're able to show that, okay, Oga new blood, this is what me and Oga bad blood agreed on, right? So most likely Oga bad blood didn't show you this, right, before we went ahead to work on the creative. But now that you've pointed these things out, let's go back to point A, whereby me and you and Mr. Badblood redesign the creative brief or make new agreements on the creative brief. So we're able to agree on a new purpose, on a new intention, and go ahead from there on. So, but try and find out, always try and know who is the final decision maker on your project, and then, but sometimes it might not come up with something. It might not be a very, very, might not make any difference finding out who the decision maker is, because sometimes the decision maker is also under another decision maker, but it is what it is. Okay, let me try and see if I find any questions. But share what you name.
Oh, AJ?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. So I think that's all the questions we have for now. So thank you very much
awesome.
for that very insightful session and the good answers you provided to the questions. And just for the sake of appreciating this session and appreciating President AJ, you can go on Twitter to share the things that you've learned from this session. Don't forget to use hashtag here. Our handle on Instagram is @FourthCanvas, and AJ's handle is @_AJ_. My own handle is @Aremo_Smog.